Hello, welcome to TAM Talks. Today we are speaking with 2022 council candidates to get to learn a little bit more about them and who they represent. In this episode, I'm talking with Kendal Smith-Lake, who is Director of Communications at the Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth. Welcome, Kendal.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Kendal, let's get started. Our first question is, can you let us know a little bit about how you got into museum work? This is always a really interesting question because it's not always a direct route.
Right, sure. So I did kind of go around the bend a little bit getting into museum work. I have an Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Graphic Design from Texas Tech, and I moved to Fort Worth after college, working for like a family small business as a graphic designer. I did a lot of volunteer work in nonprofits at that time, and a job came open at the Science and History as a graphic designer, and because of my volunteer experience with the nonprofits and my design degree, I landed a job at the Science and History, which was, it was like a utopia. It was such a wonderful place to work and learn about the museum field and colleagues there. And I worked there for about 5 years and kind of got my MBA in marketing, and a job came open at the Modern right after the new building was opened. And I mean, it's not a dream job. So that's kind of my roundabout way of getting into the field.
Great, yeah. There's lots of Texas Tech grads in our membership, being a major museum studies program, and I love the Fort Worth Modern. I don't have favorites when it comes to museums, but when I step inside that building, it really inspires me. So great place to show up every day. So tell us a little bit about the Fort Worth Modern. What can we see there? If someone hasn't been there?
Okay, well, so when you first arrive, it's in Fort Worth's Cultural District, which is a great place to visit and have all the institutions together and working together. We have a Tadao Ando design building. He's a Japanese architect. It opened in 2002, and it has beautiful spaces. It's concrete, glass, and steel, and it creates this feeling of calm as soon as you walk in the door and see the acre reflecting pond. And then in our gallery, so we're one of the older museums in Texas. Our charter was 1892. Our mission obviously has changed over the years and adapted, but we've always collected art of our time. So now in the galleries, you will see post-1940 modern contemporary art, international. So we collect from all over the world. Our collection is about 2,600 pieces, of which, depending on special exhibitions, we'll have 150 pieces on view. And we do host traveling exhibitions and special exhibitions that we organize. So it's kind of just depending on what month you come, what we have on view. But we have a great cafe, we have an auditorium where we have lectures and movies, and then a wonderful education studio as well.
Great, yeah. I didn't realize it went back to 1892. That's incredible.
Yes, we were chartered with the Fort Worth Library in 1892 by 25 women.
By who?
25 women in Fort Worth.
Oh,
that
really?
Wanted to bring culture to Cowtown.
Culture to Cowtown. Oh, excellent. Well, let's talk about the council candidacy and kind of your thoughts around that. So I'm going to kind of turn towards that. Given the current uncertainties in the state and the nation, what do you see as museums in general's greatest challenge? And what are your ideas for moving the profession forward?
Okay, so I did make a few notes. So I was involved with our accreditation. It's been about 10 years, but being involved with that helped really pinpoint where museums are and where museums are going and how we can serve our communities. I feel one of the biggest challenges is to be inclusive of our communities and to represent our communities through our collections, our staff, our exhibitions, our programming. We need to present based on our mission and make sure that we're covering and including the historical perspective of all of our publics, all of our audience. Being accessible, breaking down the barriers to visiting, welcoming. So once we break down those barriers and get people to visit, we want to be a welcoming institution to all, to understand our audience and to meet them where they are so that we can serve them, because as a public institution, that is our charter, is to serve our audience and provide them with the education and the experience of the art we collect and show. And we can do that, through creating that environment and the language we use and the adaptations we make for different publics. We also want to represent our community through our staff, our members, our volunteers, and so people see themselves here, that we're not kind of this beautiful institution on the hill that everyone just gazes up at, but that they're a part of the museum and the museum community. And this goes for our museum and all museums, but kind of specifically from the art perspective, we want to make sure that we aren't, institutionalized so much that we're not inclusive. The other, as a museum community, expanding funding and expanding the way that we propose funding and as a vital educational resource in Texas. Texas is, and especially in the arts, the education is underfunded publicly, and looking at new ways to approach public funding as well as private funding. Fort Worth has a great history of philanthropy, but we can't rely on that history forever. It's not always going to be there. As well endowed as some of the museums here are, we have to expand funding and be creative and inclusive in how we approach those strategies to get people to understand the educational value of the museum and how it is even broader than the art on our walls.
All right, great. Well, thanks for helping us understand how you're seeing the museum profession move forward. We're seeing that as well. Expanding audiences, community engagement, really big themes that we're seeing. Okay, on to the next question. What qualities make a great board member in your opinion?
Well, I think a commitment to the mission of the organization is vital, because and part of it is being an advocate for the organization and an advocate for the member organizations, kind of above all else. That is having those feet on the ground and that brain trust working to support the organization is vital. So a commitment of time, availability, I think is important. And as well as just the creativity to put into the group and the knowledge and the experience is really important. So you kind of coming into it with from a place of knowledge, as you learn from obviously your peers, but a good basis in the field, I think, is important as well.
Okay, great. And just real quick, one last question. Why do you think you're a good fit for TAM's council?
So I really don't love to toot my horn, but I've been in the field for going on 25 years, since around like 1998, which and at different levels, obviously, and with a few different organizations, but working as a leader at the Modern and on on different projects here, and being in touch with peers and other organizations associated with the museum. Like I said earlier, the accreditation with AAM has given me knowledge and a broad sense of the museum field, not just in my communication, but in the accounting and finance part and the development and programming. I feel like my department's kind of the central station here. So I kind of have my hands in everything. And I continue to learn about all of that, but really keep in touch with other institutions as well to make sure that we're on point with what we are doing and using the newest knowledge and resources that we can. So I think I've been working here a long time, and I have good knowledge, and I keep my finger on the pulse of what needs to be happening and try to communicate that.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we're definitely need to get some more fingers up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to help us connect more with your region and what your region needs. So thank you for joining me on this this chat today. For those members, if you're an individual member or you're the institutional designee or a business member, you are able to vote for council. The voting is on our homepage, and voting goes through February 28th. And then we'll have a teller committee tally the votes and announce that at the annual meeting. So really excited. So thank you, Kendal, for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.